All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good evening and welcome to our webinar titled Creating Outdoor Living Spaces for Log and Timber Homes, How 3 Log Homeowners Did It. I would like to thank our sponsor, Honest Abe Log Homes. Honest Abe Log Homes designs, manufactures, and builds energy-efficient custom log homes, log cabins, timber frame houses, and hybrids. In addition to model homes at its national headquarters in Moss, Tennessee, the family-owned business maintains show homes and sales centers in the Tennessee cities of Cookeville, Crossville, and Murfreesboro. Honest Abe has been in continuous operation for 36 years. Since 1979, Honest Abe has created approximately 7,000 homes for customers across North America, in the Far East, and in other locations around the globe. An extensive network of more than 50 independent dealers located throughout the United States services clients worldwide. Our speaker this evening is Honest Abe Log Home President Josh Beasley. Josh began his career at Honest Abe in 2003. During his tenure at Honest Abe, Josh has been recognized with national awards for marketing excellence and advertising design. In 2008, he was listed in the top 30 under 40 by the National Association of Home Builders, and he currently serves on the NAHB's Log and Timber Homes Council Steering Committee. Joining Josh tonight is Log and Timber University professor Rob Clutter. The Log and Timber University is a leading source for continued education on building log or timber frame homes. Check out the university's fall schedule at thelogandtimberhomeshow.com. Before we get started, I wanted to let you know we will save time at the end of the event to answer questions. Questions can be submitted in the question panel on the right throughout the presentation. Rob, I'll let you take it from here.
All right, thank you, Amanda. Josh, we'll get started in just a moment. I'm really excited about this webinar this evening, and I'm so glad that everyone is attending. I think you're going to be really pleased and get some great ideas for your homes as you create those designs. One of the things that's most fun about designing and building your own home is getting to decide where everything goes. And while many times we seem to focus on the layout of the kitchen and the bedroom and the inner portions of the house, which is important, sometimes we forget about the outdoor spaces. And one of the really awesome things about a log or timber home is the setting in which it lives. A log home is truly at one with its environment, whether that's on the side of a mountain, out in the woods somewhere, overlooking a lake or pond or stream. It matches its surroundings in a way that you really just don't find in a lot of other kind of homes. So tonight, Josh is going to actually lead us through where we're going to hear from some real people who built real homes, and they're going to tell you about they made their real decisions. So, Josh, I'm going to let you get started.
Yeah. Hey, Rob, thank you. And, yeah, thank you and Amanda both. That's an excellent introduction there. And you know, we talk here at Honest Abe about not just selling log and timber frame homes, and of course that is what we do, but we really are helping to create and uncover that lifestyle for our customers. If we really believe that, then we have to kind of show it through the things that we do and the way that we serve our customers. So when we were talking about this webinar, we realized, you know, it'd be a great idea to go out, actually sit down with some of our customers and just talk with them, talk about their experiences and what they've accomplished, what they've created. So even though Honest Abe may not be heavily involved in a lot of what we're going to be talking about tonight, we have customers all over the country that have tons of experience in this because they've lived it and they've done it. So what you're going to be hearing tonight is interviews that I did with 3 different customers. I traveled to their homes here in Tennessee, and we sat down and we just talked about what they've created. And you know, you can tell what's important to someone by what they've spent their money on and how they spend their time. And I think it's going to be obvious to everyone that these 3 customers place a premium on their outdoor areas. So we have a number of clips, audio clips, We will play those, Rob, and then show a few pictures as we're doing so, and then between those clips, we'll share a key takeaway, and maybe you and I can elaborate on that a little bit, and
Okay.
and we'll go from there. So, hey, the first couple is Gary and Suzanne Sladen, and just to get us kicked off here, they are talking about the importance of their outdoor areas to their overall plan.
Well, I think the outdoor space was important from the beginning because of our backyard and the pond and the natural setting that we're in, and we wanted it all to be just right there to enjoy.
Sure. Yeah, like she said, the pond and the fire pit. We love to have friends and family and gatherings, and so that was a really important piece to us. Not only on the back, depending on how the sun sets, but we'll sit on the front porch as well and just enjoy the morning, and on the back porch in the afternoon. So yeah, that was a part of the planning from the beginning.
Yeah, that leads into kind of what I was wondering next. What kind of activities did you have in mind? I mean, when you're going into this, did you have in mind of having 60, 70, 80 people out here at a time, or were you thinking more seclusion, privacy, that type of thing?
I think all the above.
Yes.
Both.
Yeah.
We've had as many as, I guess, 75 out here at one time.
Wow.
And originally, when we built the first log cabin, the smaller area in 2009, we had a different fire pit area. But now that we've added on and built a new fire pit, we've had that many. And but we love just to have. We had a couple over last week and just enjoyed the back porch. So it can be us or it can be a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We've always enjoyed having small gatherings as well as larger groups for events that people want to do. So we're open to a lot of, ideas, and sometimes people will just contact us and say, hey, can we bring a group out? And sure, we love for people to come out and enjoy it.
Yeah. And I think that's something that a lot of our homeowners find out. You build a beautiful log home, you create a wonderful setting around it in the outdoors.
Right.
People want to come over, right?
Yes,
Right.
they do.
And a lot of our clients, they love sharing what they've created too.
Exactly.
So that's great.
Yeah, so Rob, our first kind of takeaway from all this is if you build it, they will come.
Absolutely, 100%. If when you're designing your outdoor spaces, as Josh had talked to the couple there, how big of entertainment, how large of a group would you like to have over? How do you want to use that space? And if you plan that and you prepare it for that number of people, I don't think you're going to have any trouble filling all those seats. If you create a cool place to hang out, the friends and family are going to be over.
That's right. Yeah, if you have friends, they will show up because you're doing something that a lot of people dream of, and they never actually go through the steps and get to that point. So if you build a log or timber rustic style home, you create these great outdoor areas. People will want to come over. So that's and that seems pretty basic, but it's something that you need to keep in mind and realize how many people you want to accommodate. Just what you said. Yes. So the next clip. Yeah, the next clip, the Sladens are talking about some specific outdoor areas.
Another thing about the home, with back to the porches and everything, we want a lot of natural light and being able to see the outdoors.
Yes.
And the porches and the pond and everything. So I think with what y'all were able to do, we're talking a lot about the outdoors. We want to see the outdoors from the inside.
Right.
And we're able to do that.
Yeah. So you kind of created the spaces outside of your windows and outside
Exactly.
of your doors, so that
Right.
You're taking care of those
Right.
and grooming,
Right.
manicuring,
Right.
and all
Exactly.
that. Yeah. Well, you've talked some about the pond, and our viewers will be able to see it. It's beautiful. But what are some of the other elements that you incorporated into the outdoor spaces?
Well, one thing I think that was important, this doesn't exactly answer your question, but where the placement of the log home. We walked around, looked around,
Yes.
and kept trying to figure out where things go and where a driveway goes. So once we decided where to put it, that sort of dictated other things that we did.
Sure.
You know, the big oak trees and where the pond location, the fire pit, and those kind of things. So I think the placement of the structure was primary to all of that, but we enjoy all of it. We have all the deer and turkey and all the different animals out here, so we
Plenty of coyotes.
yeah, we have those too. But and we've done some fencing for some borders and boundaries around the property, which add to the look.
Yeah, and you've planted a small little young fruit
Yeah, we
tree.
got an orchard, down there.
Orchard.
Sure.
Someday.
Yeah. It'll take a while, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's good.
So I think,
Yeah, so
Josh, the key takeaway here that I get is, if you build your home in a beautiful setting, on your property, you can't hang a picture on the wall any prettier than a window. And what I mean by that is the view that you get to enjoy as you walk through the room it's like a painting. And so when you're planning your home, and you have a particular view, pay attention to where you place those windows so that outside can come inside and you can enjoy that view that you're getting to have. I mean, because you're not living in a subdivision here. We're looking at your neighbor's house. You're looking out, as they mentioned, at the wildlife and the mountains and the trees and the pond, and it's an entirely different feeling.
Absolutely, Rob. I agree with that 100%. And then think back, you're thinking of the nature end of it. Also think of the activity centers. So if you have pools or areas where there's going to be entertaining going on outside, maybe outdoor kitchen areas, eating areas, those are areas that you may also want to be able to see well. And if you're going to be on the inside of the house, you don't want to feel really disconnected from that. So you want to build in a design that flows and functions well between those areas.
Good point.
The next group here, we're talking to them about the porch.
And you've built in a beautiful fireplace to your porch.
Mm-hmm.
I assume you spend quite a bit of time around it.
We do.
Yes.
Particularly, we have air and a big fan out there, 72-inch fan. But in the fall and winter especially is when we love to be out there with the fire going.
A cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And it's gorgeous and peaceful, and you hear all the sounds in the trees and the wildlife, so it's really peaceful.
Y'all have a lot of experience, really, and there's a lot of people sitting out there right now listening to this, and honestly, the whole process of building a log home or timber home, of creating and putting in all the work of these outdoor spaces may seem a little overwhelming to them. Do you all have any advice? Do you have some tips, things that you've learned along the way? What would you pass on to someone, to a Gary Sladen that was getting into this 10 years ago, or a Susan who was looking at this and trying to plan it out? What would you tell yourself if you had a chance to go back and do it?
Mm-hmm. Well, this is our, I believe, fourth home to build.
Okay.
The log home process is a different process than a conventional home. For us, the end product is fantastic. It's just a whole different feel than a conventional home for us. In terms of outdoor spaces and what I would do differently, I think in previous homes we didn't pay enough attention to that. We didn't pay attention to where the sun set.
Yeah.
We didn't pay attention to the trees that we took down. Of course, you can always add trees, but we didn't. Here, we don't have a wraparound around the full place, but almost do.
Sure.
You can sit on the other side where the original was and your rockers, or over here where the fireplace is, or on the front, either one of those. So yeah, I think real attention to the landscaping and the tree placement and the fireplace and your grill area. We have our grill not underneath, it's on the outside.
Yeah.
So I think those things we we were able to develop a plan from previous experiences that weren't good.
Mhm.
And I have nothing against swimming pools. We've had a pool. We did it our last place, a beautiful backyard area, and our kids enjoyed that while they were at home. But at this time, that's probably not anything we'll do unless there's a lot of grandkids that come along. But
Sure.
even more planning if you're going to do a swimming pool.
Yeah.
So no one
And
likes.
talk to a lot of people that have done this before and get their advice and talk to the people at Honest Abe and
Sure.
gather as much information as possible.
So there's a lot of structures here. I mean, you have your main home, but then you all have done a lot of work throughout the property, incorporating different things. Could you tell us about some of that?
Well, one thing we had to figure out is a garage. We didn't have a garage when we only had the cabin. We had a gravel drive. We just pulled up in the drive. But with this nice log home, we wanted to have a garage. And there was not really a way to attach it. So it is a detached garage, which you just, you kind of get used to it.
Sure.
But it's great to have a place to put your cars or truck or whatever inside under shelter. And we made it a 2-car garage, and on one end we added a open breezeway to pull into, which works really well because then you can fit 3 vehicles in there. And then on the other end we added a little storage potting shed area. So I keep all my planting things in there and tools and things like that, and it's got a window in there, and I can go in there and kind of mix my dirt up in a pot and put some plants in it and bring it out.
Get everything ready.
Yeah.
The other thing we did down on this lower part of the property near the pond and the house is because we do have gatherings with several people at one time, we also did a pavilion. You can probably get 40, 50 people under that. And we may add a grill station out there. We don't plan on, catering, doing weddings or anything, but we do have reunions and our own personal family and extended family and church gatherings and whatnot to make memories. So the pavilion has worked out nicely, and we have the 3 fans that blow the air and lighted. So yeah, the pavilion has gotten quite a bit of use as well.
Gary, Susan, listen, thank you all. You all don't realize this right now, but soon there'll be people from all over the country listening. So thank you for inviting us and all of them onto your back porch this morning. And
You're welcome.
some you said was earlier was making memories. And you all have a beautiful place to make memories with family and friends here. So
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Enjoyed it.
Well, one of the things that Gary mentioned there was, with trees and the sunlight and the shading areas is, know what that's going to be early. So, if you already own property that you're thinking about building on, go out there and kind of stand where the house is going to be and see where the sun rises and where the sun sets, so that you're going to know how that's going to affect the porches. For example, if you want to sit on the porch in the evening, then is that the shady side of the house? Or if you want to have a cup of coffee on the porch in the morning, is that the sunny side of the house? And that also helps you with window placement and things like that as well, to take advantage of the natural light. But it's just a good idea to just kind of spend some time on your property and see how the sun tracks. Where's the shade from that tree going to be at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and things like that, so that you'll have a good idea on how to use that shade to your advantage when it's August.
Yeah, Rob, my family, we spend a lot of time on our back porch. It's screened in, and the evening sun in the summer just it kills us. If we had just angled that a few degrees in a different direction, then we wouldn't have to deal with that. But late evening, it comes right in there, and in the middle of summer, it's scorching. So don't do what I did. Plan that out.
Where the sun's going to be at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
That's right. Exactly right. Well, this next couple is Janet and Grady Wilson. I went and visited with them, and a little bit of backstory here. It's kind of funny. We'll get into the interview where we've already been talking for a few minutes. Grady ends up having to leave. They run a business and stay pretty busy. But we were just joking about the property that they purchased. They happened to live across from at the time, and they had talked and talked and talked about wanting to purchase that property. It never would go up on the market. One day Grady drives by, and there's a real estate sign by the property, and he snatches up the sign, brings it home, and they call the realtor. So we're pretty sure that's probably illegal, so don't go around snatching up real estate signs. But so we're kind of joking about that as we get into this next clip.
It's funny. We've already incriminated Grady. He had to step out. He had something come up that pulled him away, which is fine. But it's funny. So when the property came up for sale, Grady pulled the plug. He pulled the sign.
Did. He did. I'm telling you. I don't even know if that's legal, but he done it.
So it really is something that you all have had your eye on for a while, and it's all wooded. I see a lot of trees here on the property. Did you leave trees? Did you plant that, or did you clear it off?
I say if I was to count every tree that has been planted in the last 9 years on this property, we've probably got a good maybe 60, 50, something like that, trees, different kinds. We wanted a certain look. Once we picked out our log house, we wanted a certain look for the grounds. Not necessarily the west, but we have got a lot of western trees planted because, log cabins are just, they're a nice Tennessee home, but they're more in the west, seems like, the logs, and we've seen a lot out there. So we ended up picking and choosing all kinds of trees once the grounds got done and all the lakes got built, because we worked on the grounds for about 2 years before we actually started building this log house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we had it in the making and, know what we were going to do, but the grounds itself, it took us about 2 years. And we would come over and sit on the docks in No House. We would look at the lake and we'd say, one day, we're going to get that Honest Abe up there, because we'd done settled on what we was going to do there. So, it took us about 2 years to create what they're going to be seeing in these photos.
Sure. And so that's kind of interesting, because I think as we look at our customers, and with the couple of interviews that I've already done with our clients, they typically built the home.
Yeah.
And then built the outdoor spaces around it after the home was constructed.
Right.
You all took a different approach to that.
We did. You would have to know me and my husband. We're both very, very creative. Whatever we do. I mean, I'm a home decorator, and he is a landscaper, and, just creating the outdoor themes and scenes. And we're very natural here, as they'll see in the shots.
Yes.
We got lots of rock going on, lots of different types of trees, and we actually have docks that we've built, and around the lakes and everything. Of course, once we got started doing that, we went kind of crazy with it, because we got so involved, and it kept getting prettier and prettier and just more like what we wanted, from the little log cabin from Honest Abe. We got the little swing set for the grandkids. And then we go over and we go to the Amish and we get the gazebo, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is coming together so beautiful. And we wanted levels, like from the gazebo, you go down, down, down to the water. And then we knew the house was going to sit like up here on this little pinnacle. So we had to carry in tons of dirt from where we built the lake. We kind of got all the design going up here where the house was going to sit. And then, of course, the lakes was coming together really good. But one thing is kind of funny. I always said, I will never have a lake in front of my house. I mean, I've always said that. I don't want the gnats. I don't want those bugs on me. And I'm telling you, when Grady said, now, Janet, we're going to have a spillway, and we're going to have this lake coming over into this lake and build the dam between them. I'm like, but I don't want one in front of my house. He said, well, it's not going to be exactly in front of the house. And sure enough, when he built that, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's going to be beautiful. So as me and Josh are sitting here, we're looking at my dining room window. I can see water. I can see my docks. I can see my split rail fence. And so he knew exactly, he was kind of the instigator of the dream and putting it together in his mind. We had nothing on paper. My husband don't do a thing on paper. It's all in his head. So, it worked out well.
Well, one of my key takeaway here is kind of a personal story, and as well. When I built my log house, we owned our property for a couple of years before we started building. And I would go out there and clear it off and burn brush and do this and do that, and I was able to kind of craft the land like I wanted it. We put in a pond and moved some stuff around so that, kind of like you mentioned in your interview, instead of doing it backwards, we sort of had the land ready for the house before the house got there. And that way, when the house, arrived and was built, it sort of fit like it was supposed to all along, because we had that vision way ahead of time.
Yeah. Yeah, and as I was talking with Janet and Grady, you could see it in their eyes that they could visualize what they wanted to create and what they wanted to do. Personally, I don't have that talent. I'm not good at that, and so I don't think that's something for everyone to try to do. But certainly, if you have that vision, if you've got the opportunity like they did, having the land for a couple of years before they wanted the home. Hey, go for it, and they put in a ton of work to get the property just the way they wanted it, and then they plopped the house, exactly where they planned for it to be. So in this next section, we're just talking about some of the other outdoor areas that Janet and Grady have incorporated.
Talk us through maybe each of the little areas that you built here.
Okay, starting with
fire pit.
Actually, the fire pit used to be that we created. Of course, we have rock all the way from the paved driveway up to the gazebo. We've laid the stone. We did the sand with the rock and built us a space there to where we could sit actually around the fire pit. Yeah. We did that several years ago. And then we just had the old-fashioned, absolute beautiful moose and bear wrought iron, that you buy at Bass Pro Shops. I'll give them a little plug here. They're one of my favorite places. And you just kind of put it in the ground, and then you build your fire, so you're actually looking at your wood. Well, this year we thought, it's about worn out. We have built so many fires there. So we ended up going to Lowe's and getting the fire brick and making it bigger. Sure. And then we ended up, the little moose and bear that we had from way back, we actually sit it on top, and I went crazy over it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a keepsake. We got to keep this little fire pit. So many memories. Right. So we stuck that on top. So we built the fire pit there. And so when we do have people that come over and they stay into the night, into the evening late, we always have a fire going, and they all sit around that. And we just, that's really a nice time, whether it's family or friends or larger groups, And then, of course, that's one of our favorite spots that we have there. And then, of course, the decks that we built, we actually built one out into the lake. So before that, our huge lake started filling up, we built our docks. Okay. And so the lake rises up and around that dock. So even late in the evening, you can go over there. And we have, I think we counted, me and Grady, just last night, over 75 mallards. Wow. Came into this lake. So you're talking about a beautiful scene in the evening. If you're sitting on the water, is to be able to see the geese come in. They're messy, but they are absolutely beautiful. So I kind of overlook my mess in the driveway because I love wildlife again. And then some of the other areas that we've created is they're going to see probably in the photographs is a lot of the we call them mounds, which is just built up dirt around the lake. When you're building a lake, you just don't want a place for cattails to grow up and grass and you want to create something. And once you see these mounds, you look beyond it and you see the water, but yet you get some beauty going around. So that's kind of what we've done here is actually what we had a vocal point of a tree, a pine or something. Then we did some of the beautiful grasses around because grasses and water are just wonderful together. Absolutely. And added a lot of the rock and stuff. So And then, of course, we have in the front of the house, we have another dock that's built out into the lake, and that's actually where we do our weddings.
Okay.
So they can actually get married right on the water
Right on the
if they want to. So, it's just mainly, we didn't do anything real elaborate, like huge places together under, build up those. Those may be we have some ideas of things we'd like to do on down the road that we feel like, well, we're over here a lot, so we do need some coverage from the rain and stuff that if we want to stay longer. So that's on down the road probably.
And that's kind of interesting to talk about because you and I we've talked about this a little bit. Seems like you all find a little summer project or something to do about every year, right?
Yes, we'll try to add maybe one thing, but back to getting older again, we have to be careful there because it does create a lot more to take care of.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about everybody else, but I want to go hang out at Janet's house because I've been watching these pictures and it's pretty awesome. The comment I have is ever since I was a kid, I like to play in the fire, and I still do. So I think having the fire pit is awesome. I can just imagine, building a fire out there and just hanging around it on a Saturday night or with the kids cooking hot dogs or whatever. I think there's something about sitting around a campfire that's just naturally awesome.
Yes, I agree 100%. I don't think little boys ever grow out of playing with fire. So
I do like
still
to
do
comment
it as well.
here, though. Make sure that it's accommodating and safe. So that's the disclaimer. Make sure that it is safe, obviously. But, a campfire is a gathering place for friends and family. It's where you make memories.
It certainly is. I mean, once the sun goes down, what else is there to do? And that's where everybody shows up. You got to have a s'more. And then we have a second takeaway on this one, and it's berms and mounds can be a great way to create points of focus. So, and you can see that throughout the photos. They have, they have their lakes and so forth, but they built up these different areas using some dirt work, some rocks, and trees and so forth to really create focal points on their property.
Very good.
All right, this next section we're talking about advice that Janet would give to people listening today.
One of the reasons to do these webinars and reasons people join in is just to share experiences and learn from other people's experiences. So if you could go back and talk to the Janet Wilson of 10 or 15 years ago, before you had this property and before you've created all that you've created here, what kind of advice might you give her?
As to what to do and what not to do?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking me? That's a question I hate to answer because we do still enjoy everything.
Sure.
This might be a good question 20 years from now when I read you about, I'm not going to tell my age. But anyway, probably if you're not careful, because if you love outdoors and if you love landscaping and if you love trees and you love flowers, as we do, me and my husband both, you may not want to go as large as us, even though it's in your heart and you love these things. You do need to and probably plan a little better than what we did, because we would probably right now, 10 years down the road, we would like to downsize, but you can't. You've done created this.
Right.
If you downsize, you're just going to have to let parts grow up.
That's right.
And that's going to take away from what you started out with, what you created. Yeah. So probably, Josh, just maybe think it out. Very good. Yeah. Even maybe down on paper, which we never did use one.
Sure.
And, kind of plan, what you're going to be doing 10 years from now. If this is going to be the family home, this is going to be where the kids gather, make sure that you all can still maintain what you created from the beginning. And sometimes it's hard because the love that you have for things and the beauty that you want to create for others to enjoy, it's hard to have a cutoff point. Yeah. It is. You just, we went by feeling and what we created and what we loved. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, I mean, I think she makes a good point. In looking at these pictures, Josh, that's a lot of landscaping to keep up. And, I don't want to make anybody mad here on this, but personally, I kind of have an aversion to mowing, and so my yard is just all natural. I just went I have some moss and some ferns, and I mow about 4 times a year. But that's me.
I despise
if
weed
your
eating.
passion is the land, then that's other people, and that's all fine because we're all different. But as she points out, years from now, that's a lot of yard. That's a lot of yard,
Yes.
and so maybe kind of keep that in mind.
Puppies grow up to be big dogs, and the same thing's true for landscaping in your yard and the different trees and shrubs and so forth that you put in it. It is going to grow, and that's something that you need to keep in mind and plan for as well. Realize that it's going to look different in 5 years than it does when you start off.
Yeah, it's kind of like all those people that planted the Christmas tree right next to the house, and then 15 years later,
That's right.
giant.
Listen, the next interview is with Mike and Marta Foster, again, Tennessee residents, and we start out with them as Mike and Marta just share with us kind of the history of their property and how that became significant with the planning.
You all have done so much here. You've had so much experience doing it. You'll be able to share just a lot of great information with them.
Good, happy to do so.
I have the benefit of knowing some of the history of the property here before you built your home. But for the sake of our viewers, would you mind to share just a little bit of that?
Sure. We had looked for lake property a long time. And in 2002, we happened to see an ad for a home on Old Hickory Lake here in Nashville, Tennessee. We came down and really just fell upon this property by accident.
Mm-hmm.
And so we bought it. And one thing that we did we're campers. We like to camp.
Yeah.
So we bought the property in 2002, knowing at some point we would build on it. And so for several seasons in the summer, we actually camped on it, which turned out to be very fortunate because we got to know the property. And since it is lake property, we bought a boat. We didn't have a dock, but we bought a boat, and we tied it up to the side, and we camp, and our kids would come and their friends. And so I think one of the things that we learned, and we kind of applied it again, is to use the property before you're making any major investments yet, particularly to see how are you going to use it. And that helped us figure out then later where to put the house, and helped us think about where we should put the pool in relationship to the house.
Sure, that's great advice.
So we did that, and then we built in 2009, 2010, the first phase, and moved into that.
Yeah, we always knew we were going to do a pool house of some type, but that was going to come in the second phase after we kind of figured out where do we want it and what did we actually want it to do and how did we want it to function for us. And so we kind of had to live with the design we had for a little while to kind of figure that out.
And in fact, I think it was interesting. We built it as a vacation property because we were still working at the time. And then when we made the decision that this was going to be our permanent home after we retired, frankly, what you're looking for in a vacation home and what you're looking in a permanent home is a little bit different. And so we actually moved here and lived in it for 2 years full time. And, we had the pool. And as Mike said, we had guests, had family and friends, and really were able to figure out from that experience what was missing, what would make it more enjoyable.
I see. Yeah.
I think that their experience of staying on the land, they mentioned that they were camping out there, really kind of gave them a better, a lot better idea of she mentioned where they were going to put the house. If you just go out and you look at a piece of land, you think, well, this is a nice place for a house. It's really hard to move it later. So if you spend some time, you invest some time and stay out there and spend some time on your land, who knows, you may decide that the house might look better over there versus the first place you thought. But you know that because you've been there. And, and I'll tell you one of the things that we used to do before we built our house is we camped out on our property a few times. And
you did?
it's a lot different being there, at night and first thing in the morning and that sort of thing versus just going and looking at it in the middle of the day.
Well, that's right. And there's a difference. We talked about this a little bit during the first interview about getting out there and understanding where the sun rises and the sun sets. But there is definitely a difference between visiting your property, maybe spending some time out there, being there on occasion, and actually using it for a period of time. And of course, not everyone will have that opportunity. But if you do, it'd be a great way to get familiar with just the entire surroundings.
Exactly. Yep.
This next clip, they're talking. Oh, and Rob, something I meant to mention as we were getting into this last one. Mike and Marta built their home in a couple of different phases. So there was the original construction, and then we helped them with an addition, a pool house, and an addition to their great room area just this past year. So you'll see maybe a few differences in some pictures prior to the addition and once it was completed, and you'll hear them talk about that a little bit as well. But with this clip, they're talking about how the interior should really function with the exterior.
I would have never thought that I needed a kitchen closer to the pool.
Right.
But when you realize you spend most of the summer out by the grill,
Yeah.
and the walk up to the main kitchen is, several hundred yards, then you realize, gee whiz, it's really worth a second refrigerator and an oven.
Yeah.
So, those kind of things.
Well, I would think, too, it allows you or whoever's cooking to be more connected to actually what's going on,
Exactly.
right? Rather than being way up in the house and disconnected from everyone, you're still kind of in the mix.
Right.
Even though you're able to prepare a meal and so forth.
And also you find out what activities other people want, your family and your kids and your friends. The second round, we had a fire pit before, which we certainly enjoyed, but this time there's a huge demand for a ping pong player and a beer pong table. Huge demand. So we found a company that would actually make us one that could stay permanently outside.
Wow, right.
And it was this summer. It has been so much fun.
Yeah.
And then cornhole, and so it's just, again, if you're not here and you don't see people, making makeshift ping pong tables out of stuff or, figuring out what you need, it's hard to know what to build.
Wow, I like the fire pit too. There was another fire pit. Just personally at my house, we have our porch that we talked about earlier is just right off of the kitchen and dining room. And, we use the porch kind of like the other dining room because you're right there close. So I think in your design, if you're going to use those outdoor spaces, have them where they're close to, especially kitchens. If you're going to serve outside, you don't want to, have to walk through the living room and down the hall and take a left to get to where you're serving the food. So in the design of the outdoor living spaces, they should kind of match the home design.
Absolutely. And I'm going to back up a slide here so we can look at that. Something that just jumped out at me as we were doing that interview, we were actually sitting in the lower level just behind the windows that you can see there. And with the colors, the decorating that they had, all of the glass that they had in that area, it really did kind of feel like we were outside. So I think she really did, she overachieved on making that space feel like it is connected to everything that's going on just on the other side of that wall there. So it really did allow her to be engaged with whoever's there, friends, family, and so on. The next clip is probably one of the best ideas I've ever heard for a pool.
One of the biggest things that we did that has turned out to be such a plus is, and we have a pool outside, and we have a pavilion at one end of the pool. And it's covered, and as it's turned out, we intentionally built it so that it covers about the last third of the pool.
Okay.
But how has it turned out? It has been phenomenal in the summer.
I bet.
People can stay in the pool all day.
Sure.
And not
Because
be
they're
in the sun.
shade.
Because
Right.
they're in the shade, and it's so comfortable, and it's great for small children that need to take a break from the sun. And so having a permanent roof over part of the swimming pool turned out to be fantastic.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
And
it was not really difficult to do.
no, it
No,
was not
it just
difficult
takes
to
a little
do.
planning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Not with the right timbers going across and being able to do the spans.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so that turned out to be something that we've enjoyed a lot. Of course, we have the outdoor kitchen area and a couple of different smokers and grills because we like to do barbecue and that type of thing.
Sure.
We have, I guess now, 3 kind of outdoor sitting areas that are connected to the house. The porch that we put on the end of the addition that kind of overlooks the lake. And then we have a porch that's really a connection between the main house and the recreation area. But we use it for cooking out and grilling when it's just Mike and I here.
Sure.
And then the screened-in porch that is part of the main house. And so it's been nice. We get teased about why you have all these different places to sit. But what's a lot of fun is it is fun to sit in a lot of different places for different activities, different times of day,
seasons.
different seasons. And so we've turned out that we really do enjoy it.
Right.
I love having the pool in the shade. Then you don't get hot.
Isn't that great?
What a great idea.
That's right. It's
know,
like, yeah, how simple
hang out,
it
like
is.
she
but
said, you
perfect.
can enjoy it longer. And look at you wouldn't have to use the SPF 50.
That's right. And, I have small kids, so I can identify with that directly. It's great to have a place where you can kind of get them out of the sun. It makes for a great area outside, and it's really not that difficult. We can design those. Any log timber home company can design them, and it really is just a shelter, and you stick it on the end of the pool. Not that big of a deal, but very effective.
Idea.
This next clip, we're just kind of asking them about, well, actually, they're sharing with us a couple of principles that they go by.
We have 2 principles that we use. We really do talk about this. One is we absolutely built the guest areas and the outdoor space so we could accommodate a large crowd and accommodate a large crowd for several days, not just for like an afternoon. So that was one. So we wanted to make sure that it was comfortable enough that when we have people come, they are relaxing and enjoy themselves and they're not on top of each other. So things spread out. But the other principle is we don't build anything since Mike and I are here 98% of the time by ourselves, we try not to build anything that we won't use ourselves.
Sure. Right.
And because we found ourselves getting sucked into a little bit too much, well, gee, wouldn't the kids love that? Or wouldn't the such and such love that? Well, since they're here all of, 6 visits a year.
Right.
Yeah. It's kind of like, no.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So kind of using both of those in mind.
Right. Yeah. Right.
But the other thing in the whole design piece and the design phase, I mean, one of the things that you did was made sure we had a design theme that why were we designing this and what we're designing for. Right. And so that theme kind of carries through both the the original and the new addition and how you did that.
Right. We said that when you come into the house, we really want it to feel like a huge hug, that you walk in and you're relaxed. And so the furnishings are that way, the decor is that way, the design is that way. When we did this addition, for it to be down here by the pool and the recreation area, we wanted it to be on vacation. So we wanted to feel like a different place.
Definitely has that feel. You nailed that one.
Right. And so we really wanted to think about how does the space make you be in a certain state of mind.
Sure.
Right. Sure. And so when we designed the outside spaces, it had that vacation theme assigned to it to say, how do we make it feel that way when people are here? Yeah. You're on vacation.
Friends of ours and family will say, they used a word that I didn't like, so I asked them to test a different word. They said, Martha, this is like a resort. No, we weren't really trying to build a resort. We really wanted to build a retreat.
A retreat.
Because those are 2 different things.
Yes.
And a retreat is a place where you come to recharge and relax and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that very much captures what you've done here.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And,
good.
It's just interesting, too. We hadn't really thought about indoor spaces being able kind of work as an outdoor space. But as we're sitting here, we'll go ahead and share this. We were kind of driven inside by the rain. So we're doing this in the basement of your new addition. This is the first time we visited since you've completed it. You really do have the feel like we've stepped into a whole nother place. You know, I mean, we're on vacation down here. We could be outside right now.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
The way you've arranged the windows in this space, this really does feel like an outdoor space to me. It just happens to be enclosed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's all designed such wet bathing suits can be in here.
Sure.
Right. So all the
Exactly.
materials are designed that way. So it is designed for an inside out
Right.
kind of view.
And that's a great point. So if you do have a pool, you definitely want to design some interior spaces to where you
It
can
doesn't matter.
accommodate
You
all that.
come in
Right.
and sopping wet with wet feet and sit down and watch TV or cool off like we're doing right now,
Sure.
and get something to drink out of the fridge, and so no, it's exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, obviously they like to entertain and they love to have friends and family over, which is great. But I think she makes a great point in that it's your house. So,
That's right.
build the things that you're going to enjoy when no one's there so that you can enjoy them with your friends and family when they are there.
That's right. And Rob, that principle really leans back to what we talked about with Janet and Grady Wilson too. And you can overbuild if you're not careful. So if you're going with these couple of principles set in place, you can probably help alleviate that.
Mm-hmm.
Now ask the Fosters about just some advice that they could give.
There's people from all over the country sitting in their homes right now. They have dreams and aspirations of building and living in a log home. Of course, with that comes a lot of different ideas about outdoor activities, what they like to do, and so forth. Part of the reason they're listening is how to plan those. So what kind of advice would you give someone that maybe 5 years out and just now starting to plan for their home and their outdoor spaces?
I think, and Mike may or may not agree with this, I think it's easy to talk yourself out of spending money on those things. It is. You can talk yourself out of it. How much will we use the pool?
Yeah.
Or, we put in a splash pad.
Yeah.
Is it worth that?
Right.
And so you can talk yourself out of it.
Yeah.
And I encourage what we have done, what we've chosen not to do is, you can't replace those experiences and those memories. You cannot. It's worth every single penny.
Yeah.
Because the outdoor can be the last thing you choose to invest in. Right? We all
That's
kind of
right.
do it. You think
That's
about the
right.
house, you think about the property, you think about all those kind of things, and you're doing your budget and where you want to put your money, and then this can be the last thing. But if you're going to build a log home or something that's out in nature, that's kind of the point.
Yes.
Is to be out.
Yeah.
And so I just encourage people to make sure that they don't cheat themselves out
That's
of
a great point.
all the enjoyment and all the memories and all the wonderful times that investing in the outdoor will provide.
And as you're saying that, I'm sitting here thinking some of the greatest memories I have with my grandparents were outdoor activities.
Right.
Times that we shared outside. So
Right. It's usually not, they don't sit around and remember, gee, we all sit and watch TV
That's right.
Great.
together.
That's right.
And
You
so.
remember that fish that you caught down by the lake?
That's right, or the s'mores that you made, or learning to swim across where you learned to swim was in that
Absolutely.
pool, or, right?
Yes, that's it.
Wow, and that's just some incredible advice. And building your home and enjoying it with your friends and family, that's making memories, and that's priceless.
It is. I loved what she said there about the TV. You don't remember sitting around watching TV. Your kids and grandkids aren't going to remember sitting around and playing on their tablet at the cabin. You want to rip them away from those things and create opportunities to make those memories. So. And then the last clip, we're almost done here. So Marta is just going through and talking about the various elements that they've used in the outdoors and how to keep that design consistent.
Our belief is that it's more calming and more comfortable if you pick 2 or 3 elements and then just stay with them.
Sure.
So that's why just the stone,
Mm-hmm.
the metal roof,
Yes.
the gray stained logs,
Uh-huh.
the chocolate trim. period.
Yeah.
And just repeat that over and over again, so that one, it looks consistent.
That's right.
But it also changes your mindset. It's relaxing. You don't have to be surprised by this change and that change of material and that type of thing.
If you want to accessorize and add color, you just do it through. I mean,
Exactly.
The umbrellas over the tables and
Right.
just
The
the
cushions
splashes of
on the
color.
chairs.
Right.
And then as trends change, you can change those items out and keep it looking modern throughout.
But we think the log and the stone and the those type of elements. That's why we feel like it can be a forever house. We believe it can look just like this in 100 years.
Sure.
If we continue, if we maintain it and take care of it.
Absolutely. Right. That's the great thing of a log or timber home.
Right.
Well, Mike, Marta, thank you both so much for having us out today. Thank you for just opening up your story and your home and your outdoor area to so many people across the country. It's going to be a big help for them.
Oh, good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, I'll admit, Josh, that decorating is not really my strong point, but I do know, especially when she was saying that, what I heard was relax. And, I think she did a great job of having everything kind of blend together nicely, where it was soothing, it was peaceful. And as I looked at that picture of that porch with the fireplace, I thought, you know what? I could sit right there and relax.
Yeah. If you're not careful, you can make a big mess. Just mixing a lot of different elements and a lot of different things together. And I think she has a great approach at that, of just picking 2 or 3 elements, 2 or 3 colors, keep that consistent, and then, hey, throw in the color and the variety with the decorations. And they did a great job at that. So Rob, that wraps us up.
Well, I think that this was extremely informative, I know for me, and I think it was really cool actually hearing it from the people that did the designing. And, with all of these homes, they're all a creation of the customer. They're a creation of the person who built them and designed them. And there's not another one like them in the whole entire world. And they're truly unique and special, and that's really what building your own home is all about.
It is. Rob, I heard someone say one time, and I wish I could remember who so I could credit them, but they said when you do this right, when you build the home right, when you create the outdoor areas right, it just kind of looks like it grew from the landscape. And with all 3 of these homes that I visited, you got that feel. Just being there, it looked like it belonged. And that's the great thing about a log home and its natural setting.
That's right. It matches. I guess we have time for a couple of questions if anyone has one. Josh, or if you're willing to field a couple of those.
Sure. You may have to help me out, but I'm up for it.
Amanda may be able to see them and read them to you, or maybe I can if I can figure that out.
I got you covered, Rob.
Okay, good. Thank you. You saved me.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you both, Josh and Rob, for a great presentation. As the guys mentioned, we are going to take just a couple minutes here. We're close at the top of the hour to answer any questions you may have. Quick reminder that you can enter them into the question panel of your control panel. It should be to the right of your screen. So the first question here, I'll toss it Josh's way. What percentage of budget should be set aside for outdoor landscaping?
Ooh, that's a tough one right off the bat. When we get to talking about budgets with any of this stuff, it really does depend on your budget and the scope of what you're wanting to create. I believe one of them talked about remembering planning for all this up front. We work with a lot of customers that really don't account for landscaping and so forth into their budget. To give you a percentage, I think that's going to be tough, because I think it really depends on your personality and what you're planning on doing. But certainly budget in a decent amount to do some landscaping, to add on porches and decks and so forth.
I think the biggest mistake that you can make is not assigning a percentage of your budget to your outdoor spaces. And as when I was building and working with people, I would see that a lot. And in a lot of subdivision houses, it's 4 or 5 little shrubs on the corner and some straw and grass seed, and that's the entire landscaping budget. And I think what we saw tonight, we saw some people that obviously had some very extensive landscaping and pools and things like that. But it wasn't really as much about the percentage. It was about that was really part of the house. And so as part of the overall plan, they were very in tune with those outdoor spaces.
Right. So, hate not to give a direct answer there, but I think that covers it well. I will say that porches are always a good investment, especially with a log home, but with any home really, because a porch will help protect the stain. It will help protect any home's doors and windows. So the more porch that you can afford in your budget, and it work well with the design and the look that you want on the exterior of your home, the better. Porches are good.
Yes, and I love them.
Thank you both. Let's hit one more question here before we let everyone go. Does composite decking hold up? Any tips on deciding between a standard treated porch floor or something like Trex?
Very good question. We have experience with both. In fact, here at our national headquarters, we just replaced some old traditional pressure-treated decking with Trex in this past year. I can tell you it's expensive, so you're probably looking at maybe 4 to 5 times the cost of your traditional pressure-treated decking. So it is a significant bit higher. At the same time, we've been very happy with it. There is basically no upkeep. You just go out and spray it off with a hose if it looks a little dirty. There's no restaining, none of that to deal with. So if you can fit it into your budget, I highly recommend composite decking.
I'll second you on that. I like it. I especially like how you can fasten it from underneath, and you don't have those nails that back up and catch me on my toe.
That's a great point. We have no exposed fasteners on the surface of ours.
Safe for those little kids running around barefoot too.
That's right. Well, and that's another great point, because pressure treated, it's going to splinter up, and it does get in the kids' feet. So.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both, guys. That is all the time we have for questions this evening. We do hope everyone enjoyed the presentation. We will be sending an email out with the link to the recording of this event, and you should see that within the next 24 hours. On behalf of our sponsor, Honest Abe Log Homes, and mywoodhome.com, we would like to thank you for joining us. Have a great night, everyone.
Hi, everybody.